What's up everyone? Today we have the Mazda 6, the 2018 Mazda 6 Signature trim. Now Mazda uses a term called Mazda Premium, and let me tell you, this thing is the definition of Mazda Premium. This car is on a different level in some aspects, and it's so much more than just a turbo. Huge thank you to Mazda for sending this vehicle to review for you guys today. Can't wait to show it to you. Let's get started. Now there's quite a bit of new stuff for 2018. Not only was it refreshed, there's also a new trim layout. So at the bottom we have the Sport still, and then there's a Touring, and then there's a Grand Touring. Once you get to the Grand Touring is when you get the new Turbo, which is brand new for this year as well. There's a Grand Touring Reserve, and then there's the Signature, which is what we have right here. Thank you everybody so much for tuning in for this Mazda 6 review. We're gonna take a good look at the exterior of the Mazda 6 first. Now standard for this model, for all 2018 models actually, is LED headlights with integrated fog lamps, auto leveling, LED daytime running lights, and then on our Signature trim in the Grand Touring Reserve, you get adaptive front lighting system, and these headlights do a really good job at night. They do a good job of lighting up the road. When you turn the vehicle on, you can actually even see the lights move, and it's definitely a nice headlight system from Mazda here. Also standard are these LED turn signals, both on the front and on the back. And on our Signature trim, we get this exclusive gunmetal grille. It's got a unique texture to it, a unique look. I really do enjoy the way that looks. And then, what do y'all think of this Mazda? So we got a little bit of refreshments here on this front end. It's definitely sharp, it's sleek. I think it looks pretty good. We also have the Soul Red Crystal paint, which is a premium color for Mazda. Mazda's red paints just look pretty darn good. They look pretty sharp. I think it really stands out, makes this car look pretty top notch. In terms of the wheels, new wheels and new wheel finishes for this 2018 model. On the base Sport, you'll get 17s. We have 19-inch wheels. These are the silver finish. You'll get silver on the Grand Touring Reserve and up. Otherwise, you'll have gunmetal wheels. Now, one surprising thing with the wheels and the tires is we have 225 width tires instead of some wider tires that you'll find on like the Camry and the Accord, but you got vented front brakes and solid disc brakes in the back. One cool thing on the Grand Touring model and up is you will have an auto dimming rearview mirror, which is just awesome. So when you've got some bright headlights behind you, that mirror is gonna dim, and it makes a big difference. Plus you can see the turn indicator in that mirror as well. And as you would expect now, this Mazda 6 does come standard with its G-vectoring technology, the torque management, the engine torquing system, to help with your cornering and your handling. Then as we come around to the rear, you can see we do have a little spoiler up there, a little lip spoiler. Like I said in the front, we've got LED turn signals, just like we do on the front side, and LED combination tail lamps. One cool thing is that every single Mazda 6 will now give us these dual exhaust tips. There's some bright tips. I think they look pretty good. Overall, really closes off this Mazda 6 design, and I think it looks pretty darn sharp. I just wish that they would sharpen up the side of the vehicle a little bit. I think that's where it's starting to look a little bit dated. Now in terms of the safety features, on the Sport trim you'll have standard blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert, smart city brake support, and then optional on the Sport and standard on the Touring and up you'll get the automatic high beams, smart brake support with collision warning, lane departure warning, with lane keep assist, full stop and go radar cruise control, and rain sensing windshield wipers. Cargo space for the 6 is not too bad. We've got a little tab right under there, and there's actually even a little grab handle right here as well to help pull that down. One thing I really like is that we have hinges that are actually kind of integrated so they don't get in the way of your cargo, and our seats do fold down on both sides, and it's actually nice and flat, which is really nice. This is 14.7 cubic feet, which is just a smidge below the Camry. You can see a storage bin over there. There's another little storage platform over here. And overall, not a pretty bad space. It's a couple feet smaller than the Accord, but it's a pretty usable space. You can see a backpack, stand-up carry-on luggage, and my tripod. And then underneath of here, we do have a compact spare tire. In our Signature trim, of course, we get the advanced keyless system with Mazda's typical key fob, very skinny, slim. You have a physical key that you can pull out. No remote start unless you get it as an accessory. Push button start's available on all trims. In the advanced keyless system, that I'm going to show you right here is on the Touring and up. So with Mazda's system right here, we have this black button. You can push that to lock it or unlock it. It was locked, obviously. Push it to lock it, and then if you walk away, it will lock on its own. And you can turn that off or on. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna do my range test. This is all new for this video. Let me know if you like it or not. We're gonna see just how far away this key fob works. So you can kind of get an idea how far I am right now. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see the car. It's not working right now, so scoot up a little bit. Okay, it just worked right there. There we go. So I'm gonna zoom out, give you an idea how far away we are. When it comes to the front seats and total interior space of the Mazda 6, it's just a fraction behind the Toyota Camry and a couple inches of cubic feet behind the Honda Accord. But still, for 2018, Mazda actually redesigned these seats with high density, vibration absorbing urethane foam, and they're pretty comfortable. I do like the shaping of them, and ventilated seats are now available for 2018 as well. On the sport trim, you get cloth 6-way manual seats that are height adjustable with manual lumbar adjustment as well. And then on the GT and the Touring, you will also have leatherette seats, which are heated, and 8-way power with lumbar support. And then both the Grand Touring Reserve and the Signature trim that I have right now will be heated and ventilated with 8-way power and lumbar support. The Grand Touring Reserve will give you leather seats. My Signature trim will give you Napa leather seats. And like I said, both are heated and ventilated. The only thing with this Signature trim is that the passenger still does not have lumbar support. The seat can move up and down, and you're, of course, forward, backwards, and recline, but it just doesn't have lumbar support. So that's disappointing on this top Signature trim. But when it comes to my seats, this Napa leather is pretty nice. We've even got a little metal trim piece running across the seat. It's perforated, of course, for its ventilation. They've got good, decent bolstering, moderate bolstering on the sides, and pretty good shaping. It seems to be just a little bit firm, but I really like the shape, and I've been comfortable in here my whole time I've been in here. Now the interior, and especially this front portion of the Mazda, is where you'll really find some of the premium features. We have this real sen wood right here. We've even got this metal accent piece, metal door handle, this ultra suede material above your armrest. Still a pretty soft armrest. You can see the stitching running across. All automatic up-down windows. My bottle does fit in here, but there's really not much in terms of storage. It's actually kind of a downhill slope, like it runs down into the bottle holder. A little bit pointless in my opinion, but definitely a nice door, nice trim as well. Pretty good solid door slam, and once you get inside, you will find even more of the luxuries that Mazda is trying to give you, like the ultra suede running across the dash right there. More of that sen wood right here. Sometimes it looks like a brushed aluminum, especially with certain lighting. Same thing on that door over there. We've got soft materials next to our legs right here. This is really soft and squishy, so if your knee goes over on either side, you're good with that. Soft materials up here, even some stitching, injection molding running across the dash. I like how that's integrated a little bit more than some where it's just pure tablet style. It's a little bit more cohesive that way. Every trim gives us a leather wrapped wheel, and this steering wheel is pretty nice. I do like it. This is heated on the Grand Touring Reserve and up, and our Signature gives us some unique stitching. Let's go ahead and start it up. The button's way up here, which is a little bit odd. We'll go ahead and start it up. And right away it'll show us our around view monitor, which I'll show you a little bit later, but we do have basic steering wheel controls just like usual. But the 7-inch display, which is new for this year, you can kind of see the outline of it a little bit actually down here running over. They call it a 7-inch digital display. It's pretty disappointing in my opinion. I mean, you can see some decent information and it does look pretty nice, but there's no audio, there's no navigation, and you know, I'd expect a little bit more and some more customization out of it. This is the kind of screen I would expect in the lower trims and something more extravagant in other trims, but I do like the gauges. The gauges do look nice. I think that this is a pretty good layout right here. The steering wheel does also give us some little paddle shifters. They're plasticky, but they do work, and we'll go over those in the test drive. Got a couple more buttons down here. Traction control, our around view monitor, lane departure, parking sensors, your trunk and your hood, and fuel door openers down there. And then running across this dash, we've got standard is our 8-inch screen as well. And I'll go through that in just a second. Now standard on every trim is also this dual zone climate control. and these have some actual real ticks to them. We've got our ventilated seats, 3-tier ventilated seats, both driver and passenger, our steering wheel, and our 3-tier heated seats as well right here. All easy to use. The steering wheel, my big complaint with the heated steering wheel is that it's only heated from here to here. The bottom and the top are not heated on either side, but just the sides on each side. Right above the gauge cluster, we have an actual head-up display from Mazda. They call it the active driving display, and I really like it. It projects pretty well. It's nice and clear. It even shows you your blind spot information, radar cruise information, your speed, traffic sign recognition. It does really well. It's on the Grand Touring Reserve and up, and it actually projects onto the steering wheel. Right below our dual zone climate control, we have a soft padded area, a little storage bin. There's just no plugins down there, which would be nice to see. A little trim piece right there. I thought this was maybe something that opened, but it's not. Our shifter is nice. We do have plus and minus for manual mode. You can move it over and manually shift like that. We also get sport mode. You just tick it up for sport, pull it down to get out of sport. And then for our controls for our stereo, we've got Mazda's Connect system right here, this dial. It does feel solid. You can move it all different ways and control your radio and your touch screen with that. Got shortcut buttons, navigation, home, music, back button, your favorites, volume knob. There's no actual tuning knob, and these shortcuts do work for Apple CarPlay as well. Automatic parking brake, brake hold button as well. Now, these bottle holders down here are a little bit on the small side, but they do accommodate my bottle. And if you don't want anything there, you can pull this out and have that make it look nice and sleek. Now, my big complaint with Mazda's cup holder location is that it's just right in the way of where you need to do this dial. So if you've got a passenger over there and their elbows right here, you don't want to be bumping them out of the way trying to go around. And I have a bottle with me literally all the time that me and my wife share, and it doesn't go in the door very well. So this is just kind of annoying trying to reach for this, even going for the shifter. But enough about that. We do have a soft armrest right here, and like I said, soft materials here. The armrest is really soft and plush. It's just really small. But that's where you'll find your 2 USB ports, SD card, and 12-volt power outlet. And then over to the glove box, our signature trim even gives us this nice metal opening, and we've got soft opening or soft lining, soft opening as well. It's a little bit on the small side, but nice glove box. And then we have an auto dimming rearview mirror on the touring trim, I believe, but ours is a frameless auto dimming rearview mirror with the HomeLink system. HomeLink is also on the touring trim. We do have vanity lights and mirrors up here as well. And instead of the entire visor moving, we have this slide out piece on each side. Sunglass holder right up here, which is kind of a small sunglass holder. You have to finagle them if they're a little bit larger. LED lights on both sides and the front and back, plus a traditional size moonroof right here. No panoramic roof available in the Mazda 6 on any trim. Go ahead and take a look at the visibility. We have a pretty big pillar back there, but straight out the back, not too bad in terms of visibility. That rear window is not too bad. It does slope down quite a bit, but I haven't really had any problems, especially with our blind spot monitor, around view camera, and all of that. At night, you can see right up here we have a little light, just like the CX-9, where you have a little bit of ambient lighting below the center console, in the door pockets as well. I just wish it was a little bit more colored and maybe in some different areas. Now, time to take a look at this 8-inch display. This is standard on every single trim, and when you're parked, it can be a touchscreen. And the big news is we have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If you have your phone plugged in, it will show up down at the USBs down there. Or if you go ahead and go over to the application screen, you can find it over here, and it does seem to work pretty well. You can control everything pretty much the same way you would expect in any other Apple CarPlay system, and you can control it with this turn dial and those shortcuts. The navigation system is pretty poor. You can't actually pinch it, but you can zoom in. I'm not a big fan of it. It doesn't seem to be the highest resolution. Another thing is you can control a lot of things. You can adjust and customize a whole bunch of different information on here. And with our particular model, we do have Bose's 11 speaker system on the Grand Touring and up, which does sound good, but it doesn't seem to sound as good as the CX-9 Bose system that I had before, which had just an extra speaker. And then let me show you finally the backup camera. and the around view monitor. So the disappointing thing, there's no dynamic lines. When I turn the wheel, it doesn't move, and it's like, this is a signature trim and we're trying to be premium, and that doesn't do that. But let me show you the actual around view monitor. Go ahead and hit this button. You can see that. I love how you can see the parking lines over there, and you can see the camera right there. So when you actually have it in the around view monitor, you have some dynamic lines, and you can even flip it around so you see just the camera in the back. And then when you put it in drive, you can actually see what's in front of you with some dynamic lines. So it's very low resolution. It is not very clear. I even wiped off every single camera because we've gotten some rain. But, you know, at least you have it. It's an option, and it's nice. The back seat of these mid-size sedans they've just gotten so big and spacious overall. This slots in a little above the Camry and a little below the Accord in terms of overall legroom. And at 5'9", sitting behind myself, I do have a decent amount of space for my knees and my feet. The space under the seat is a little bit tight, but I can sit up tall at 5'9" and not have my head touching. It's pretty close. So if you're about 6 foot, I don't know if you'll fit back here because of this sloping roof. And you definitely want to be careful getting in because it's easy to hit your head. This is not a very big opening with this sloping roof line. But let me give you a closer look. All right, like I was saying, the back seat is plenty spacious, as you can see right there. We've even got the same nice materials and bottle holder on the door. And as I get in, you can see the knee space and foot space that I have. That passenger seat is all the way back, and I can still fit over there. There's a pretty good hump in the middle, which is kind of annoying, but we do get air vents on the touring trim. We also have map pockets on both sides, and you can even see the detail Mazda paid attention to with that metal trim running across. On the touring trim, we also get this center folding armrest with 2 USB charging ports right there. Nice little soft cubby as well. And then on the Grand Touring Reserve, we get 3-tier heated seats for our back seat outboard passengers. Not too bad at all for a back seat. Plus we have LED lighting just like we do in the front, and a grab handle on each side. Now for 2018, on the Grand Touring and up, Mazda gives us a 2.5-liter turbo. It's a dynamic force turbo, and that'll give us 227 horsepower with 310 pound-feet of torque, and that torque comes out at 2,000 RPMs. But that's with regular fuel. If you put premium 93 fuel in here, you can get 250 horsepower, and Mazda says you won't notice a difference unless you get over 4,000 RPMs. One thing to consider is that you cannot get a manual transmission with this turbocharged engine. You can only get a 6-speed automatic, which will give us 23 miles per gallon in the city and 31 miles per gallon on the highway. Now some news for 2018, the Sport and the Touring still get the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, but now it comes with cylinder deactivation, where the 2 outside cylinders will actually deactivate, and Mazda did some refinements to make it so that you really don't feel any vibration or you won't even notice that the cylinder deactivation has occurred. And that 2.5 naturally aspirated engine will give you 187 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. And if miles per gallon is your primary goal, you definitely want to go with that because you get 26 in the city and 35 on the highway. The thing with that engine is that on the base Sport, you can still get the manual option. Otherwise, you'll have the 6-speed automatic just like the turbo. All right, what is up everyone? Thank you for tuning in for the test drive here. Always my favorite part. So of course I'm gonna do some acceleration, some turning, but my first impression of the Mazda 6 Signature with the turbo is that I think they put luxury above sportiness. That's not to say this isn't a sporty car, because it does have that feel with the Mazda steering and the acceleration, but it definitely feels a little bit more luxurious. It definitely feels like a substantial car, like something very solid. Feels comfortable to drive around. Throttle response is good. It's actually better than I was expecting, and I think that has to do with the fact that we still have a 2.5 liter instead of a 2.0 liter. Of course, with this Mazda, you do still get their good steering feel. It does feel buttoned down to the road. We have the G vectoring, which is a torque management system to help you kind of with the nose dives going into these turns. Acceleration is good. You definitely feel that torque come in pretty early at 2,000 RPMs, in fact. The braking on the 6 is a little bit on the soft side. It's definitely not quite what I was expecting, but it's still pretty confident. We're just in normal mode right now. And of course, you can definitely burn some rubber going around some turns, especially when that torque starts to pull. But one thing that I have noticed is I'm pretty sure this car has regular fuel instead of premium fuel. And I've done a fair amount of highway driving and merging onto the freeway, and you get some real good pull. You get a pretty long pull, but you start to really kind of feel it fizzle out with 227 horsepower backing up that 310 pound-feet of torque. Now, I'm sure it does make a difference and feel better, and Mazda says you don't really notice a difference unless you're over 4,000 RPMs, and truthfully, you don't really ever have to get over 4,000 RPM because this car is plenty confident below that, and it'll give you plenty of pull before that. Well, let's go ahead and put it in manual mode. I'm going to use these paddle shifters and sport mode. You get some rev matching here. And of course, we get stuck behind somebody, but the shifts are pretty quick with these paddles, and downshifts are definitely quicker. One nice thing about the turbo is you can have some pretty casual driving and be comfortable without really having to rev this thing out. One thing that I've noticed with the paddles is it's definitely shy when you go to rev it out. It doesn't want to rev out quite as much as I would have hoped for, which kind of degrades its sporty feeling. But I'm going to put it back in normal mode and in regular drive, automatic drive. In terms of ride comfort, this thing is pretty good. It definitely feels pretty soft. I think it's got a really good balance of being soft without being sloppy, but still having some good handling and some button down feeling. Going over some big bumps, of course you can feel it, but it's not disruptive. It's not very rough at all, really, but I don't think it's quite as soft as it could be, especially for going for the Mazda Premium feel. The handling feels heavy but confident. This car does feel a little bit big. The handling still feels pretty good. I don't think it handles as well as the Honda Accord. It's been a while since I've been in there and I didn't get to drive it very hard, but I think it's still lacking a little bit behind that. Now, when it comes to noise, vibration, and harshness, I haven't noticed hardly any vibration in here, really. It's not a harsh ride at all. I haven't had any rattles that I've noticed. I take decibel ratings. I take a couple, a maximum, average maximum on the interstate, an average maximum on a louder textured road, and now I am adding in a minimum, the average minimum at 45 miles per hour on just a basic road in town. It's not as quiet as the CX-9 that I had, but Mazda said they did still make some tweaks, but we do still have a fair amount of road noise. I really haven't noticed much of wind noise because we have acoustic windows on the side here, which is really good. But it's not as quiet as I would have hoped, but it's not loud either. Okay, so I got it in sport mode, a little bit of brake. Oh man, that was with traction control on. Okay, and we got past 60 there. Now, we definitely lost some traction, which makes a big difference on that pull, but this is rated at, I believe, about 6.4, 0 to 60, which is behind, you know, even the Chevy Malibu, the Honda Accord, the Toyota Camry, that Passat GT that I had. But it's still a pretty fun car to drive. You get that turbo going, you get that pull down low, and it makes for a pretty fun ride. If you were really hoping for some performance out of this turbo Mazda 6, you might be a little disappointed, but it makes for a very pleasant drive, a confident drive with some sportiness and some speed on top of it. The handling is just as you would expect. Really hugs these corners pretty well. A little bit of body lean, but definitely still confident. These seats do a good job of holding me in my place. Now, in terms of Mazda's safety systems, we have the lane keeping assist, which I think does a pretty good job. It's not as directed and guided as some systems, but it gives you a gentle nudge. You can make it vibrate. It doesn't have to beep. You can customize that. You can of course turn it off too. The radar cruise is a full stop and go. It seems to be a little bit jerky at times, but it does bring you to a stop and accelerate. I do trust it, even though it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. And I've even been able to test out the automatic high beams, which seem to do a pretty good job as well. So I've driven the Accord 2.0 Touring, which is a competitor to this, and I think overall the Accord is just a little bit better in terms of driving dynamics. The Accord also doesn't give you a panoramic roof, just like this doesn't, but I think you sit a little bit lower in there, and it just seems to be a little bit of a more buttoned-down vehicle. This is probably similar to the Camry. I haven't driven the Camry V6, so if you want to see that, my buddy Forrest at Forrest Auto Reviews has a full comparison of the Accord Camry and this turbo Mazda. So if you want to check that out, please be sure to check out Forrest Auto Reviews. So here's the deal. In conclusion, there's some things that kind of disappointed me. The performance of this turbo is not what I was expecting. It's still good. It's good enough for me. It's probably good enough for all of you. It's still fairly efficient. The low resolution screen here is kind of a disappointment. You know, you can get by with it, but I was expecting better. But Mazda does give you a luxurious, a premium feel, especially in this Signature trim. I truly believe that the Grand Touring model, if you want something with some sportiness, some flair with this turbo, go for the Grand Touring model. You get a lot of stuff on there. I think the Grand Touring Reserve is just kind of a space filler. But the Grand Touring, you get a lot with this turbo engine at a decent price. And then the Touring, of course, with the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, still is a pretty darn good value. It's a great cruising car. It's not something that you want to really get for a sporty drive, but it's a great cruising car. It's very comfortable. So that's going to be it for this review. Thank y'all so much. If you're curious about my 5 likes and dislikes, I do have a 5 likes and dislikes video on this car that will be coming out soon after. If you're new to my channel, thank you guys so much for watching. I post videos every single week, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. I do have a review of the Honda Accord Touring 2.0, so please be sure to check that out. Click the subscribe button down below and click the bell next to it so you're notified of every single new review. And leave your comments down below. Hit that thumbs up button if you liked it. Thank you all so much, and we'll catch you next time.